This is Kingdom Warrior. I'm your host, Andrea Beam, and every episode we bring you powerful conversations with bold business owners, passionate young adults, and overcomers who have turned their toughest battles into breakthrough moments. We dive into practical business strategies, leadership insights, and the mindset that fuels resilience, so that you can overcome obstacles and scale your calling with confidence. If this speaks to you, hit subscribe now on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode, and share it with someone who needs a shot of bold faith and courage today. Talk to me a little bit. I really want to go into the music part for a little bit.
Okay.
Especially since that's how this all kind of even came about.
Right.
When you started writing, like when you got out of prison, right? You're living on fire for God. You're trying to figure things out.
Mm-hmm.
At what point did music come back into your life? Like, what was the pivoting moment there?
It's the same type of thing, just like evidently God. Okay. So, like here I am out of prison a few months. My wife, some of our friends at church gave me an electric guitar, and an amp. I wasn't really playing it. Like, my wife was like, I think you should get back into music. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. Loved music, but I just hadn't felt that desire to get back into it yet, because I spent years playing music in me and my dad's band, but I was also strung out. So I was like, it was almost like a love-hate thing. I'm like, dude, the years I played out making money, I was like eating so many pills that I was like getting ran off by the club owner because I was like falling asleep playing my guitar. Like it was, so like I had this like love-hate thing going on, right? Fell in love with worship music though. So here I am, been out a few months. The church we were at, awesome worship team, and I'm like in love with worship music. And there was, when the day I got out, my wife was like, dude, there's this guy that sings Christian music that is kind of like you. And it was Zach Williams. Okay.
Oh,
Zach great. Come on. She played me one of his songs, and I instantly, she played Fear is a Liar on the way back from prison. And I freaking cried. And she was like, he went through things, and she's like, I think you're supposed to do this. And I'm like sitting there weeping, like, oh my gosh. And I kind of started looking him up when I got out, heard his testimony. He also has a crazy testimony. Wasn't like locked up and stuff, but was in drugs and all that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, she's like, dude, like you even kind of sing like him, blah, blah. And anyway, like I'm ignoring these things she's saying about I'm supposed to get back into music. Well, like I think I had been out a year, and we're like serving in the church faithfully. Our church, they saw the call in our lives. They're like, dude, you guys are obviously, God didn't just save you from that to just like, there's a call in your guys' life. Anyway, we're helping with this outreach event at we're going to School of Ministry. So through Assemblies of God, they have like what's called a School of Ministry, and it's like 2 years, and you can basically 2 years of studies and tests, and you can get like your license to preach, basically your pastoral license. But a couple that we had met on a Saturday at school, they had a church on the north side of Springfield, and they're like, you guys should start coming over there, help us with outreach, because the north side here is like the impoverished area. So that being like our backgrounds, they're like, you guys should come over and help. So anyway, we start helping, and we put on this outreach event at that church, and it was powerful. And there was that day, I like randomly played a little bit of lead guitar, and I had played at that church once or twice just helping out, but like it was a small church, so I was fine with it. It wasn't like our church where like there's like 1,000 people and you're like up there like playing. I'm like, this church had like 80 people, and it's like north side, they're like different type of caliber. So I'm like, I didn't play here, because I was out of practice. So I was like, I'll just go up there and play something cool, like a blues lick, you know what I mean? And did that. But anyway, at this outreach event, I played lead guitar that day, just a few songs. Well, afterward, we were down in this prayer tent where my wife was most of the day praying for people, her and two older ladies that have been like our moms, right? So my mom died. Her and her mom have always had this rocky relationship. So these two older ladies we had known for basically the year I had been out, prayer warriors. They still to this day pray together. These two older ladies. We've had years of this 5 years I've been out of prison where me and my wife and these two older ladies like will get together. For a while it was weekly and we would pray for hours. So like these two ladies taught us what prayer really is. Like outside of the church, like we would get with these two ladies, pray for hours, drive around the city, praying against principalities. I'm talking like this, like real prayer, like deep intercession. So that day they're all in this prayer tent, and this other couple that had been delivered, the man had been delivered from being transgender. So he's on fire. He had been delivered for years now. That couple starts praying over me and my wife, and they prayed. So he's like basically saying, I see you two on the stage and you're playing guitar and your wife's got a microphone and there's light going out and there's thousands of people. Now, here's what's really crazy about that. Probably a couple months before that, my wife showed me a drawing she had made like right before I got out of prison. That drawing, she's no artist, so it was like stick figures. But that drawing, and she has the date on it, that drawing was me and her on the stage with people out here, and light rays are going out farther than you can see. And here we are a year later. That guy literally prays and prophesies that over us. Okay, so at this point, she had been telling me, I think you're supposed to write songs for the Lord. Now this guy, she had told me about the vision or the drawing and the vision and showed it to me. Now this guy that doesn't even know me is telling me and her the same thing. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe there is something to this. Like I had always had a desire before to write music and stuff like that. So 2 months later, it's like right before Christmas, and my wife's like, hey, I want to get you an acoustic for Christmas. And like, I thought, so at this point, we're in school of ministry. My uncle's a pastor. I'm sure that I'm like called to be a pastor. You know, I wasn't even thinking about music. So I'm like, no, I'm not supposed to do music. I'm supposed to preach. And not that I still can't, but like, she's like, I'm telling you, God's showing me you're supposed to start doing music and write songs. And so she gets me this guitar. And yeah, dude, it's another one of those God things where like, we're in the guitar store and she's like very adamant, like God is wanting you to write songs. And we're in the guitar store, like having a Christian quarrel. I'm like, no, I'm supposed to preach. She's like, no, you're supposed to write songs. I'm like, no, dang it, I'm supposed to preach. And like, we leave the guitar store, like having a little Christian argument and like come back. You know, I'm like, okay, I'll take the guitar. I'll take it. And she buys it for me.
Quarrel. I have not heard that phrase before.
It was like it wasn't even an argument compared to our old arguments. You know what I mean? So I'm like, anyway, so I get the guitar and dude, just started like falling in love with playing music again. And within like 2 months, I wrote a song. And like in the sense, like when I start to write, and a lot of creative people are like this, like you're probably like this with the things that you release your creativity through. But like, so one day, it was like February of 2023. I come home from work. It's winter, so I come home early because it's cold out, you know. And I'm in Isaiah 53, and I'm literally like, I just have my guitar, and I'm just reading Isaiah 53 and praying. You know what I mean? Like just me at the house. And within like 2 or 3 hours, next thing you know, I've written the whole song, and it's based out of Isaiah 53. And it's like. Anyway, cool song. First song I had written in a long time. And I showed my wife and one of those older ladies, and they both were just weeping. And they're like, dude, you wrote that? I was like, well, it's like God just gave it to me, you know? And so that's kind of how that started. And then like I worked on one of our pastor's houses, and he was one of the same pastors that like got a hold of my wife when she first came to church. Gave her money that first day and said, don't buy cigarettes or drugs. Go get you and your daughter some groceries. So her and him had like a connection and bond, and he knew our story, had walked with us this like year and a half I've been out. And I work on his house, and he's like, dude, you know, Easter's coming up, Resurrection Sunday. He's like, we should do your testimony for like, you know, like basically they'll do like an awesome production video, play it on Resurrection Sunday as part of the service, you know, like a 10-minute video. And I'm like, yeah, dude, that'd be cool. He's like, didn't you used to play music? And I was like, yeah. And I'm at this point just getting back into music. I didn't really tell him that. He's like, how about, he goes, we should shoot your testimony video, and then you like you'll walk out on the stage and we'll have the lights off right after your testimony video, and then you could come in with "You are worthy of it all." And I'm like, dude, I've played in front of big crowds as a like blues man, but like here I am, like, okay, I could probably do that, but like I felt like we talked about, I felt so underqualified. I just picked up a guitar again, and here we are, a church full of good-looking people with, not that this matters, but good-looking people with prestige and money and all these things. And I'm like, oh boy, I don't know about walking out there, me all tatted up, face tattoos, like, but it, like that moment, I just got back into music. He brought that idea up, and yeah, dude. So like 2 months after I just got back into music, we did that. We shot my testimony video, which was like brief, but it was like 5-6 minutes, told a little bit of my story. And then the lights, like the LCD screen goes off on the platform. And next thing you know, it's me and the worship team, and I'm opening up with "You are worthy of it," you know what I mean? And like, I'm talking, the church was on fire, you know what I mean? Like, cause it's a powerful testimony. Like a lot of the people there knew it, but it being Resurrection Sunday, like there was probably an extra 500 to 600 people that came to our church that day that didn't even go there. So like, here it is, like, but yeah, God used that. Like my wife getting me the guitar. I wrote a song, and Pastor Adam's like, dude, we should do your testimony and you come out and do a song. And within like 2 months from that, I joined the worship team because they just counted that as my audition. They're like, yeah, you're pretty good. So I was like, surprise. So yeah, dude, it was it was really cool, man. And since then, there's so much more. But for like about a year from that point on, I was doing worship at, like, we had ended up leaving that church. I went and was leading worship every Friday at another church. And that's what led to the Nashville thing ultimately, which that's a whole nother God story. Yeah.
So I really want you to talk about the song specifically.
Okay.
Too Far Gone.
For sure.
How long did it take you to write that?
Oh, probably an hour. And so that one, and I'll just share this story. Sorry, I told you I do this.
Don't be sorry. That's what I want to hear the stories. So
I'm in Nashville last August. And this is nuts. So I've been working with my producer, Josh. He's became a friend now also. So I'd been working with him. It was total God thing how we met. Like we're in Nashville coming back from vacation in August of 24. And I had Googled, like my wife had been telling me, you're supposed to, I had wrote a couple songs. She's like, you're supposed to do this. And I'm like, why would God want to use someone like me there's so many talented musicians in the world. I mean, millions now all over social media. But we're in Nashville on our way back from Gulf Shores, and we stayed 2 days in Nashville, and I Googled Christian music producer. Like if I was going to reach out to anyone, I wanted it to be someone like-minded. You know what I mean? And, so I find this guy. There's Christian producers everywhere in Nashville. It's where 99% of Christian music is recorded is Nashville. Yeah. I mean, everybody. Most of them live there. Corey Asbury, all these people live right around Nashville. So I get a hold of this guy. His name's Josh. And he was like I didn't even know the lingo or what to say, right? So I'm like, hey, man, we're in Nashville coming home from vacation. I have a couple songs I wrote. I just wanted to reach out to somebody kind of in the business and see if I could show you my songs. You tell me what you think, blah, blah. It was so random. Like, and he's not like a big producer, so it wasn't like, anyway, but I had prayed this before I reached out to him. I said, God, if you really want me to do this and pursue this, I want you to connect me with someone while I'm here, and I want them to tell me my songs are good. Like, in a selfish way, I wanted to be confirmed and affirmed by the Lord, like, hey, yeah, I want you to do this. So like I messaged that guy and I was like, can I show you these songs? He's like, well, I'm busy. I'm also a worship pastor. So how about you? He's like, will you send me like a clip of something you're working on? And I sent him like just two like 20-second videos of each song. And I like a few minutes later, I get this audio message, and he was like, dude, sorry I said I couldn't meet up with you. He's like, these songs are freaking awesome. And he's like, how about you come over after church tomorrow and we'll talk about like what it looks like to produce a song, blah, blah. And so it was a total God thing, because here I am. I said, God, I want someone to tell me my songs are good. And here this guy is now. On the other hand, you know how doubt is and how the enemy tries to keep us from our calling. So though I just said, God, I want someone in the business to tell me my songs are good, I'm already being like filled with doubt. Like, oh, it's just a coincidence. Like, you know what I mean? Blah, blah. Anyway, we meet up, recorded like a couple months later, recorded my first song, which was a cool experience. Fast forward to August of last year, I had released a couple songs. And when you release music these days, it's like, it's into the abyss. Like there's a million artists on Spotify. You know what I mean? Like you got to get people to listen to your music or have a label like working with you. Well, that doesn't happen the first time you release a song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, me and him start working together. It's going awesome. I'm like starting to see like, okay, I think God does want me to write music. Even if it just gets one person saved, it's worth it. And like it's led to way more than that now. But anyway, last August of 25, I needed to go to Nashville to finish vocals on a song with Josh. And the thing is, like every Christian artist, like they do what's called a co-write. Country and Christian music, especially, like every Brandon Lake song you hear is like usually him and two other. You get together 3 people, sometimes more, but 3's like the number. You get together 3 people that write, and you all use your creativity and write a song, right? And I'm talking it's just the way Nashville does it. So like Brandon Lake has wrote a lot of his songs with like Stephen Furtick and Benjamin William Hastings, and like so a lot of those guys, they have their clique. Anyway, me and Josh and some other people that write had done some co-writes, and so I'm there in August, and this is the God part of this story, right? I didn't really have finances to come there this time. Usually I'd take my wife and daughter when I go to Nashville to record. This time it was like, that wasn't the case. I'm like, dude, if I come there, like I don't really have $1,000 to go spend on a hotel and a rental car. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he was like, well, he basically got me set up at his parents' house, okay? Like 20 minutes outside Nashville. He's like, my parents said you can stay in their guest bedroom because like they're supportive of what he's doing, which is recording music and writing music, and they want to see the project we're working on together like go somewhere. You know what I mean? So they're like, told him I could stay in their guest room. So I'm there on that first night, and here I am in this like super big, nice house outside of Nashville in the guest bedroom. And this is where it's a God thing. I'm laying in that bed, and I'm like, God, only you could write this story. 5 years ago, I'm in prison, sleeping on a metal frame bed. Like, and here I am 5 years later in my producer's parents' guest bedroom. Something, if you would have asked me at any point in my life, I would have said that doesn't even make sense. My producer and then his parents' guest bedroom. And I'm literally laid in this bed like, only God could do this. Like from prison to prayer is what I always tell people is what my life has been. And here I am in the guest bedroom of this super big, nice house. And these people treating me like I'm freaking family. And I'm just laying up there like, God, only you can do this. Like, it doesn't even make sense. And so that's my thought before I fall asleep. Well, I wake up in the middle of the night, and this is nuts. I wake up and I roll off the bed, and I think I'm having a heart attack, okay? And I'm on the floor, and I'm crying, saying, God, I know I'm not supposed to die this way. Like, I'm literally can't move on the floor. Now I'm on the floor of this guest bedroom, and I'm saying, God, I know I'm not supposed to die this way. And like, I can't move. My back's killing me. I'm like, I can't breathe. Well, it finally passes. And I wake up that next morning, and I call my wife. I was like, dude, the craziest thing happened last night. Like, I really thought I was dying. I don't just think I'm dying. I'm like pretty healthy. And I think I know now it was a spiritual attack trying to keep me from like, cause we had a co-write that morning, and that happens. I wake up, I'm like, dude, thank you for saving me, not letting me die. But on the way to this co-write, I just have these lyrics coming to my head. I'm like, well, I said, God, what do you want me to write about today? And instantly it was too far gone is the first step into his arms. And those lyrics just came to my head randomly. So I pulled the car over, wrote them down, and I got to this co-write, and and these two guys write all the time. They live in Nashville. Their life is music, right? I'm like a construction guy, dad. They don't have kids, so like my life is like would love to do full-time music, but can't fully because I have this whole other life that God's restored. You know what I mean? And so I get to that right, and I said, boys, I said, I've got the song we're writing today. And they're like, okay, let's hear it. And I tell them what I just told you about being sure I'm dying on the bedroom floor. And I said, this song's going to be called Too Far Gone. And we just, within like an hour, we all just teamed up and wrote that thing. And it was, and to me, it's my favorite song that I've released so far. Two of my other ones have gotten like more traction, but to me, this song was like, the other ones are great, but this one for me was my favorite. There's just, I feel like it tells a story that so many people need to hear. Like, even like what you said about the abortion you had, I promise you, and you know this, you felt too far gone at some point after that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like once you accepted it, that like, so like, it's like, no matter what your story is, like there's a good chance when you weren't walking with the Lord, you've either been told you're too far gone or you felt like you're too far gone.
Yeah.
So that's how that one came about.
It was a 2 strikes and or 3 strikes and you're out kind of deal, like in my head anyway, like that was the story that was on repeat was, well, and the first, for me, like the first strike was, well, I walked away from God at 16. And then, there was a second strike having the abortion. And then there was a third strike. And then at some point you say like, okay, well, I'm too far gone to even think about going back to God. Like, why would God even want me back? And so, and I actually didn't know that about your music. I didn't know that the other two had done better. Only because I keep seeing the Too Far Gone song like come up everywhere. So I didn't know the other two had done better. That's interesting. But yeah, to me, that is a story that people need to hear right now, because I think there is a false narrative that Satan is putting into people's heads that they are too far gone. And that's why our stories are so important. It's why we have to live this out loud. We have to live our relationship with God out loud and not keep it a secret. Like, why would we want to keep this a secret? First of all,
for sure. Yeah.
But I think even after we have that renewed relationship with God, I feel like we can still struggle with those doubts of the things from our past, right? It's not like, it's not like we're perfect. It's not like we can just always turn it off in an instant. And I think Satan likes to use that to bring it back up in front of us. Like, don't forget. So your music is just, it's something that I think needs to be out there and needs to be heard, because the music in and of itself is a testimony.
For sure.
To hear your testimony is equally as powerful.
Yeah.
And now I'm excited to hear your wife's testimony, because that's happening.
Oh yeah.
She's totally happening.
Yeah, you'll like it. So she's actually in college right now to do, so she'll get her bachelor's in biblical studies, and then her ultimate goal is to teach seminary one day. But she's awesome. She's a fiery, when people say, oh, well, we don't agree with women in ministry, I'm like, well, you haven't seen the call on my wife's life then, because to me, it's obvious that God can't just use the men. And I love my brothers, but it's so obvious, even in New Testament times where he was using women, to me, it's obvious he can't just use the men to proclaim the word. And that's a big thing with like certain denominations, is they'll be like, they know God has a call on women's life, but they'll say it's a woman can't preach from the pulpit because it's practicing authority over men. Well, so here's my thing. So you're telling me, say I'm the lead pastor of a church, and like there's all types of serving in the church, not to get on theology, I'm sorry, but
let's go.
Like the door greeter is serving, the people making coffee are serving, the worship team is serving, whoever preaches is serving.
Yes.
So if the pastor of that church asks a woman to preach, That's
Mm-hmm.
serving. That's
Yep.
serving. That doesn't mean she's up there practicing authority over anybody. It's serving, and you know what I mean. So like,
Yep.
so that's just know when you talk to my wife, you're gonna be like, wow, Caleb's cool, but you're even cooler. Okay.
It's funny that you brought that up because I'm actually speaking at a church here in like 2 weeks, in a couple hours away from here, and it's actually the pastor of that church is the pastor who baptized me when I came back to God. Like it was actually listening to one of his sermons in church, and the Holy Spirit got a hold of me. Like I was only in church because my friend had invited me, and I was like checking the box and like,
oh yeah,
fine, I'll go. And like I'm crying, and then he's talking about this book, and what was funny was that book was sitting on my nightstand. I'd bought it like a year before.
Isn't that the Lord? Come on.
Never touched it. It just sat on my nightstand. It was a pretty decoration, like
yeah.
And he starts talking about it, and I was like, wait, what? And he's holding up the book, and I remember my son was sitting next to me, and I smacked him, and I was like, I have that book at home. And he was like,
come on.
Okay, like not sure why we're so excited about that. And I'm like, no, you don't understand.
Oh, that's God right there.
Been there for a year. Like, I went home from church that day. I read that book in 24 hours.
Come on.
And I reached back out to my pastor, and I was like, we got to talk. Like, we got to talk, because I need to commit my life to God, like right now. And I need to get baptized. And he was like,
come on.
Okay, I think we should probably meet up.
Yeah. Let's start with coffee, but
let's start here. Yeah, it was. It's just, gosh, you just when he gets a hold of you, he gets a hold of you.
You can't, and that's the whole thing. Like, you can't deny that. You can't. Like, what other signs do we need? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, as Jesus said, you adulterous generation, like always demanding a sign. What other signs do we freaking need? Yeah. You know what I mean? That's not a coincidence.
You said it. Like, I actually was writing these down as you were talking. You were like, there's first of all, there's no chance. This doesn't make sense. This was impossible. Like, only God could have done this.
For sure.
Like, how many times in your story those moments happened? So to tell me that's a coincidence, like, I don't think so.
Right.
There's no way. Right.
No.
And like, I think when we talked before we started recording about just God likes to have those moments, right? Where it can only be him. That's the only way you can explain it. You don't get to justify it away.
Like,
it's him. Oh my gosh, I love this.
I love it too. Yeah.
How do you deal with spiritual warfare on like a day-to-day basis?
Oh man, it's such a real thing. So I'm currently reading this book, and here's my practical thing I'm doing right now, because it's real. Like, dude, the enemy loves, like you said, to bring up your past. My past doesn't bother me, but he loves to bring, like, there's times where I can find myself, just like he did in the garden, he'll get me to question. Okay. Mm-hmm. I've questioned my calling so many times. If God wasn't so loving, he would have been like, okay, you obviously don't want this because you keep questioning it. You know what I mean? And like, I've grown stronger in it. And a big part of that is my wife. And the Lord has used several people to affirm things in my life. But it's been awesome having a wife who's like, dude, no, this is what you're doing because it's obvious. You know what I mean? But anyway, spiritual warfare, like, we've had a season so in late January, me, my wife, and daughter, all in the same house, get influenza A. Well, I'm talking for 3 weeks we were down. So, like, as business owners and people who have, like, been business owners for 2 or 3 years, we don't have thousands of dollars saved. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, the first year of business of your own business usually isn't the best.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Business is tough.
Yeah, it's like, so anyway, we get sick for 3 weeks. And that was enough of 2 incomes being obsolete for 3 weeks. Being like no income at all was like, dude, since February, we have been having to like hold on to the hope of the Lord. Like, dude, our church came around us. We were so sick. People were bringing us food every day, but like, the real part was bills weren't getting paid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that that's spiritual warfare, but through that, the enemy has tried to make me question so many things. But the Lord is so much stronger. The victory's already won. So there's also been days where the Lord has like showed me it doesn't matter if every material thing we have is gone. Like, what's that matter in the end? Yeah, those things mean so much to us, but
Mhm.
like, what the enemy could never take from me is the peace, the love, the hope, the joy, the fruits of the Spirit, the strength, the patience, all these things that the Lord has done and restored in our life. Like, those are things that the enemy can't take away. So, like, in a sense, that's like the spiritual warfare I've been dealing with is like, the old me would have like gave up and just said, you know what, this is too hard. Like, I can't now because the Lord's done so much in my life. But for me right now, this book I'm reading is called When Demons Surface. It's by
Mhm.
I think the author is like called, I think his name's Steve Nabs. I don't even know. I just randomly found the book. Okay, um, at like a discount store here. It's been awesome. He was a military chaplain for like 30 something years. He also has like 3 degrees in biblical studies, went to seminary. Um, so, the Lord's Prayer is like a model for prayer. Like, basically, it's like say you pray for an hour, the first 20 minutes would be telling God that He's holy and adoring Him. You know what I mean? And then praise and then petition. So that's how I've always understood the Lord's Prayer. But he talks about in this book, he gives testimonies of people he's ministered in even his life where he prays the Lord's Prayer 3 days a week or 3 times a day. And the other day I was super stressed. I don't even know why, just silly life stress, right? And I remembered that and I prayed that 3 times. Within that first time of praying it that morning on the way to work, I had called my wife. I was like, dude, this sounds so silly. But I just prayed the Lord's Prayer and like all my anxiety's gone. Um, so that's a thing I'm practically doing right now for spiritual warfare. Um, but I don't know. I guess the biggest thing is I don't know. I don't know if I have a definitive answer other than like usually I start my day at the gym at like 4:35 in the morning. But me at the gym that early in the morning, it's my AirPods in, and it's usually me talking to God, listening to scripture, and just knowing that and trusting He is who He says He is. And don't get me wrong, we like me and my wife travel and have helped do deliverance ministry because like I know demons are real and I know evil how real it all is. So there's that side, but right now we're kind of on a break from all that. But we've set in and done some deliverance prayers for people and we've seen some crazy things, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
it's all very real. I think the biggest thing though is I don't know. I'm just in a season where it's like as above, so below. My eyes are just so fixed on God because like there's things going on all around me, hard things. But it's like, dude, if my eyes are on the Lord, these things are like so small. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
I think just the same as spiritual warfare, like that like what can the enemy really take from you if your eyes, it says resist him and he will flee. And I think that's the big thing that America doesn't do is they don't resist him. Like it's easy to give in to worldly desires because they freaking feel good at first. You know what I mean? So I think the big thing in this season for me is eyes on the Lord and on heaven and knowing that like if my eyes are on him, anything else ultimately like is just doesn't really matter. You know what I mean?
You brought up a minute ago, Satan getting you to question your
Right.
calling.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a time where you felt like maybe you delayed your obedience to God, and that what did you learn in that delay?
That's a good question. And man, that's a good question. I would say, I don't know. I think in those moments, because I've definitely had them, I felt like it was actually God working through that. You know what I mean? Like you could call it like a divine delay in the sense of, I think, because like when I've questioned my calling, the weird part is I've still kept going after it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like an internal question, but it's like,
Yeah.
well, I'm still doing it. For me, with like the music thing, it's like,
Yeah.
I see so many people on social media that are singing about worldly things. Like I always joke, like, dude, I could quit singing about the Lord and start singing about sex, money, and drugs and probably be famous tomorrow, realistically. So those type of things, that doesn't make me question my calling, but it's at times been discouraging where I'm like, how are so many people, and I hate to sound rude, but like so many people making it right now aren't really even musicians. They're just like rapping about worldly things and
Mm-hmm.
they're like blowing up. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that can be discouraging. Or like, say anyone in your situation, there might be a podcast that's reaching millions of people and all they freaking talk
Mm-hmm.
about is Pokemon. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I'm trying to glorify the Lord here.
Yep.
But it just goes to show the age we live in, the spirit of this
Yeah.
age is obviously wanting to keep our work, the Lord's work, from going out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I
But
mean,
like,
even look at the beginning of this, right? When we were trying to jump on, we were both having technical difficulties with stuff.
oh
Like
my
I've never
gosh,
had that
yeah,
happen before. Not technical
yeah,
difficulties, but like what was occurring. I'm like, this has never happened before. Like I don't even
for
know what's
sure,
wrong.
yeah.
We're like, man, this is it though, right? This is what
That's
Satan
how it
does.
goes.
He
Yeah,
just, picks and picks and picks. And
for
um,
sure.
so along the lines of the obedience question, what about unanswered prayers? How do you deal with unanswered prayers? You pray for something for a really long time and it
These are
doesn't get
good
answered.
questions.
That's
Oh,
a huge compliment. I love that.
these
That's a
are
huge
good. Well,
compliment.
because like, and it's real stuff, man. Oh my gosh, there's a situation in my life right now, and I'll just say it. So I've got my two sisters that are still alive. My brother obviously died. Um, one of my sisters, about a year and a half ago, like I said, I'm the baby of the family, right? So first one to come to the Lord, first one to have all this happen. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I get out, my life's changed, but I'm also basically got to the point where like I'm not in my sister's life because they were using, and I'm like, I can't be around it. Don't even want the evilness that comes with people using. And not that I won't minister to those people, but when people are purposely doing meth and the thing I left that the Lord delivered me from, there's an evilness that comes with meth. It's just like, I swear there's a
Yeah.
demonic spirit tied to it. And so like was estranged from my sisters. One of them right around Christmas of 24, right around Christmas of 24, I get a call and she had OD'd on fentanyl. And so like they gave her Narcan, saved her life. But I had been praying for her for years. And so like, dude, I went to the house she was staying at, and I'll tell you, as much as I love Jesus that day, if anyone would, like, I had knocked on that door, I was really mad. I've already lost a brother. And
Mm-hmm.
now, like, even though I wasn't in my sister's life, been praying for her, God, and nothing was happening, right? Praying for her, Lord, like, I don't want to have to bury my sisters. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so she ODs. I go to that house, me and my wife, and I knocked on that door, and I was yelling, and it wasn't the old me, but it was like a righteous anger. And I said, if anyone in that house has a problem, come out here. Like I was, unfortunately, I'm an honest guy. I was gonna
Mm-hmm.
beat a few people up that day because I was very mad. I really was, and I righteous anger. I'm like, dude, I'm not losing my sister. I've been praying for her for 4 years at that point. The Lord, like, she's still getting high. Through that situation, the prayer got answered. She's now been sober a year and a half. She's about to complete drug court. Like she is like a model citizen. She goes to church with us, all this. But on the other, I mean, her life is completely different than it's ever been. I got to marry her and her husband last July 4th.
Oh my
Me and
God.
him work together right now. Like he's changed. Like she's becoming a drug counselor. Like the prayer got answered, right? Well, our other sister, the prayer hasn't been answered. And
Yeah.
like, she was just in the hospital basically because her body was shutting down from substances. And like, how do I get through the unanswered prayer there is like, dude, my trust and hope in God is so much bigger than the prayer not being answered. You know what I mean? And I really mean that. Like, my hope and my trust, ultimately, him being who he says he is enough. And it's just like, why do good people die young? Or why is there so much evil in the world? Well, when you have that exact answer to anybody, please let us know. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there is no exact answer other than the fall in the garden and sin coming into the world. Like, ultimately, unanswered prayers suck, and we all know that. They can be a blessing. That can be the answer, is the unanswered prayer. But when it comes to situations like this, like praying for a loved one who just is like on the brink of death because they're like self-inflicted like addiction or whatever, or like your spouse is about to die from cancer, and you're just like, God, like, why would you let this person who's been a saint for 30 years, who's preached your word and all these things, die? The way I get through the unanswered prayers in my life, because there's a lot of them, is like, dude, he's done so much in my life, and that who am I, and to think that because he's not answering a prayer I think he should answer, who am I to let that make me veer off? You know what I mean? I think it comes back to, in a weird way, it comes back to a form of pride. Because
Yeah.
like, if you're truly walking with the Lord in humility, it's like, you realize this story isn't about us. Like, we're blessed to be a part of his story. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And so,
Uh-huh.
and I think that's it for me, is like trying to be humble enough to realize this isn't about me. He's done so many things in my life, but ultimately, no matter what happens, like, I have to have a strong enough faith to hold on to what he's already done and who I believe he is. You know what I mean? Because these unanswered prayers are hard, and you know it probably better than I do, because you've been at this a while, and it's like, it sucks when you're
It,
praying for something that,
I think for anybody that's been praying for something that is so close to their heart and they want so, so badly, um, it's hard to not be upset by it. You know, as you were talking, it makes me think of, like, even though Jesus dying on the cross, like, we're talking about our unanswered prayers of, God save this family member, my sister, my spouse, my child, my whatever, right? Like,
yeah,
and yet you have to remember, he let his son die on that cross
mm,
to save all of us.
right,
And he could have saved his son on the cross, right? And yet he didn't. There was a bigger purpose in that happening. And I mean, even Jesus was praying to his father. And I guess you could consider that an unanswered prayer, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it's, and I'm not going to say any cliches here because I feel like that kind of defeats the purpose of why I'm talking about this. But like, I have two boys, 23 and 19. And, unfortunately, I've seen some of their friends pass away, from taking their own life. My own dad a year ago took his own life.
mm,
And it becomes, well, I'm going to use my dad because I feel like that's my story. I can tell. I don't want to tell someone else's story in this scenario. But like, for my dad, like, it hurt so bad, and I was really angry for a long time. And I'm not going to, that's a story for another day, going into that whole thing. But I refuse to let that be in vain. Like, if my dad had any inclination as to what his actions did in me, like, I wish I could tell him.
right, yeah,
it's it's a large part of what catapulted what
mm,
catapulted Kingdom Warrior. I mean, it was already a thought. It was already like, kind of starting. But when he took his own life, and I've shown this before on, so a lot of people recognize this, but I had the word warrior tattooed on my wrist because
mm-hmm,
I had actually bought this. It was a fake tattoo originally. It was a fake tattoo I bought online. And I was like, oh, it looks cool. And, it kind of reminds me of my Kingdom Warrior company. And it was sitting on my bathroom counter. And like 2 weeks after my dad took his life, I saw it sitting there and I thought, I really need something today, And so I put it on and I came to my office. I was like trying to put one foot in front of the other. And I came to my office and my daughter-in-law looks at it and she's like, oh, that's cool. What does it mean? And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, well, there's a symbol in here. The eye is actually, I don't know if you can even see it. The eye is like a semicolon.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. It just looked cool. Like, really, like I realized this, how silly this sounds. And she's like, well, Google it. So I Googled it and then I find out it's a suicide awareness symbol.
Oh, wow.
And I remember just crying, thinking, you got to be kidding me. Like that.
Wow.
I had no idea. And in that moment, I knew I had to get the real tattoo. And
for sure, yeah.
And I knew that I knew at that moment that Kingdom Warrior was a thing. Like for me, like that was where my heels dug in. Right. So I know this kind of took a turn off of the unanswered prayer thing, but
yeah,
it all applies. And
for sure.
God could have saved his own son and he chose not to because of the bigger purpose.
The bigger purpose. Yeah. And lately I'm like, I keep telling people, it's funny you say that because lately I just always hear myself saying there's a purpose in the pain. And because we're all going through something, no matter how much joy you have, dude, that hurts. What happened with your dad, that hurts. And it will always hurt, even through the little bit of healing and even as you're delivered and healed, like it still hurts. You know what I mean? Yeah. But there is a plan, like God's plan. And I'm so grateful for it. There's such a purpose and a plan in all the pain like that. I have no doubt in my mind it'll all be worth it. If it was worth it for Jesus to suffer the death he went through, then who are we? You know what I mean? Who are we to not be willing to go through none of us are going through what he went through. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 That is so true. Yeah. I had heard, I'm trying to remember who it was I heard say this the other day. I heard a speaker say that adversity is valuable. And I hadn't really heard it put exactly that way. I mean, obviously, like I've heard adversity creates character and, I've heard it said all kinds of different ways, but when I heard him say adversity is valuable, something clicked for me in that moment. There was so many things. And again, story for another day, but it was my stacking. Your stacking story. I have a stacking story. And things were stacking fast, hard, furious. Right. And he said that. And I thought, I hadn't really thought about it that way. I hadn't really thought about everything that's getting thrown in my path is valuable. I'm sitting here, crying to God saying, take this away from me. And I'm not recognizing how valuable the adversity that I'm going through is and how God's going to use that. And if he takes it away, he can't use it.
For sure. Yeah.
And it doesn't make it any easier. It doesn't make it easier, but it definitely was a perspective shift for me.
For sure. Yeah. Well, look at what you've learned and the strength you've built from that. You know what I mean? Like it is, there's always, and that's another thing for me is like through these hard things that I've even go through, like I would almost beg to say that going through hard things as not just a believer, but as a follower of Jesus, going through hard things now, I think though my hope is in him, so it's easier to get through. It's like going through hard things as a follower at times is harder than going through hard things as a secular worldly person. Back then you had like going through hard things. There was always a temporary route of escape. Now it's like my escape plan is, okay, God, what do you want me to learn through this? Like now I know there's a lesson to be learned in whatever it is I'm going through in that moment.
Now you're accountable. You're accountable to stewarding what you're going through better than you would steward it without him.
Yeah. Come on. Yeah.
it's definitely, I would agree with you. It's harder, not easier.
Yeah.
It's harder.
Because it's like now we have to have that integrity, and like my main goal is I want to be like Jesus. You know what I mean? So it's like, dude, that's so hard. You know what I mean? Like, it's an awesome journey, but like Jesus never probably wanted to punch someone in the throat because they said the wrong thing to his daughter. You know what I mean? Like, you know how it is. It's like when you have kids, it's like it's hard to try to be holy when someone's like hurt your kids. You know what I mean? You're like, okay.
Yeah. Certain things kind of push certain buttons.
Yeah. But it's a beautiful journey, and dude, it's such an honor to get to do stuff like this and glorify his name. And yeah, I mean, I just thank you for having me on, and the fact that we both know somebody will be touched by this. And if it's just one person that has a desire to seek him wholeheartedly, like that's my main goal with things like this, is somebody hear it and be like, you know what? It's time for me to freaking quit playing around about the Lord and take him serious. You know what I mean?
And man, I feel like we could probably record like 3 or 4 more podcast episodes because there's so many other topics here to go into. I would take what you just said and double that with that urgency of like, that time is now. The time is right now. There's no, both you and I, we were talking before we got on here about Philip Anthony Mitchell, the pastor. And I know that, especially a lot lately, he's been talking about urgency and time being short. And it's like, and regardless of when Jesus comes back, time can be short for each of us just simply because you don't know if you have tomorrow.
Yeah, so true.
It's not just about because Jesus, may or may not come back sooner rather than later, but because you don't know what life holds for you. Don't say, like, I remember being, when I walked away from God, I remember for a good 20 plus years of my life, I remember having this mentality that, you know what, even if I just got in a car accident, I'd still have seconds where I could say, God save me. Like, God, come into my heart. And then I'd be fine. And I don't need to live my life for him now. Like, I'd still have seconds, even if something like that happened to me.
Yeah.
That's how like delusional my thought process was about.
Scary, huh?
Right? It is delusional. It is legitimately delusional. Don't wait. Like, if you're listening to this right now, don't wait till tomorrow. Don't let yourself justify whatever excuses you're using in your head to not come to him.
Come on.
Well, we are doing some more of these, Kaleb, for sure. I think that's going to have to be on the docket.
For sure.
I literally have probably 20 more questions I want to ask you. So we'll schedule some more. But you guys, Kaleb, what's the best way for people to connect with you, to download your music? We're going to also put links when we put this out there on all the podcast platforms and YouTube. The links will all be there for people, but tell people how they connect with you.
For sure. So social media is Kaleb Kaps Music, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. But so if you go to any streaming platform like YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, obviously Apple and Spotify are the 2 big ones. Just type in Kaleb Kaps, both with K's, Kaleb, Kaps. And yeah, pretty much anywhere you stream music, I've got music out there. So definitely check it out. Give my socials a follow. One thing, this label that like I'm working with their team is like, wants me to grow social media. It's like an area. I don't even have social media on my phone right now. Like I've went down that rabbit hole. So like I'll download it like every 2 or 3 weeks and make a post. And it's like, that's like where I need to be better and need to build the following to read. But it's like, I don't like the idea of it. And I feel like what it takes to really make it in the music business is so much self-promotion that like lately it's been hard for me to do it because I'm like, I don't see Jesus promoting himself anywhere. Now it's not necessarily wrong, but for me in this season, it's like, if I really kept pursuing this thing in Nashville wholeheartedly, I could probably end up with a record deal with a Christian label. But it's like, there's so many steps. Like I got to grow my socials, and I'm like, Lord, if you don't grow it, I don't want to grow it.
Yeah.
I can't. I don't have. It's just weird. So if you do hear this and want to follow me on socials, that's awesome. Because like it's a big thing you need these days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's an area I struggle with because it's like I just feel weird about it. But yeah,
I know. I say that all the time. If it wasn't for my business, I don't think I would have any of them. Like I
it's
feel like
yeah.
I would just not. There's so much stress that accompanies having social
Yeah.
media platforms, and not just stress, but all those things that Satan uses. You know, the doubt, the comparison,
Mm-hmm.
just all of it. It just, when you look at social media, to me, like all that stuff comes up, and it's
For
hard to
sure.
fight it. So
Oh yeah.
I get that. I get that a lot.
It's like, does God use those platforms? He does. And like
Oh, yeah.
I've had people on my TikTok like reach out and be like, dude, hearing your song has like literally made me want to like get to know the Lord. And that's the beauty of social media is like
Sure.
stuff like this can find that person that really needs it. And you know what I mean? So like, that's the beauty of it. So I understand. I love that part. But yeah, so it's like a cat and mouse game with me. It's like, I need to do it. Don't want to, but I need to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Oh, I understand that for sure. Well, you guys go download his music, go follow him on social media. If this touched you, like reach out to him, let him know how this spoke to you. I'm sure that Kaleb would really love to hear as this gets out there, just how this spoke to your heart. So make sure to do that. We will have you back on, Kaleb, and there's
Okay.
some. I know we've got some upcoming collaboration happening,
For
so
sure,
I'm just
yeah.
gonna leave that hanging for our listeners on what that is, and more stuff to come. So we will have you back. But Kaleb, it's an honor having you on here, and thank you for being
Okay.
willing to share your story.
Hey, thank you so much, Andrea. And I'll be in contact, and I'll send you my wife's info too.
Yeah, that's definitely got to happen.
Okay. Hey, thank you. God bless.
Absolutely. God bless.